So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, it's do better_fitness, and that's for my work one, and our car one is watch_German_cars. Okay, please enjoy the video. So if you're not sure what oil or what you're gonna need when you do your oil change, go to your local Porsche dealership and ask them. They will tell you, the parts department, and sometimes they even give you a discount. And if you don't want to do that, go to your local like AutoZone or one of those kind of shops, and they can look it up for you and get you the right parts. Because honestly, the oil is based on region, and you want to make sure you put the correct stuff in your vehicle. So this was already warm because we drove it here. I'm gonna take the cap off for the oil, and then I'm gonna raise this on the lift. By doing that, it just helps the oil drain from underneath, and you do want the engine oil to be warm. It also helps drain it faster. Okay, once underneath your Porsche Cayenne, we're going to remove the front underbody trays, which are held in place with a T27 Torx screws and 10mm bolts. Also, we're going to be removing the panel covering the midsection of the vehicle, which is held on by 10mm bolts. Okay, now the covers are out of the way. We are going to look for the drain plug for the oil. So you're going to locate the oil drain plug. You're going to place a drain pan underneath it. We're on a ramp, but if you're doing it in your driveway and you're on ramps and you've got the jack stands, then you'll be underneath it. We're going to be removing the oil drain plug using an 18mm shallow socket. And if this doesn't work for you, try an 18mm wrench. You're going to grab the plug so it doesn't fall into the drain pan. And make sure you allow this to drain for at least 15 minutes. We always do 30 to 40 minutes. And in that time, I also clean out the sunroof drains, and I check all the tires, and I check the suspension components, and I clean out any debris in the, like on the engine bay, like the leaves stuck everywhere, that kind of stuff. Okay, now you can see it's just barely seeping. We're going to move on to draining the oil from the oil filter housing itself, which is underneath the engine in this Cayenne. So it's just in front of the oil drain plug. You're going to use a 6mm hex bit socket extension and a ratchet to remove the drain plug. So there's like a little drain plug in the center of the housing. You're going to drain that first, and we're going to use, we've got like a rubber catch. Otherwise this oil is going to go everywhere. So we're going to bend it, fold it, put it underneath the Cayenne, and this is going to make that oil drain out of the housing into our drain at the bottom. So you could use anything that you can bend basically at home. After about 4 or 5 minutes, it's just seeping out of this. I'm going to re-screw this back in just a little bit, and then I'm going to use a 36mm socket with a long extension and a ratchet to remove the oil filter housing itself. Okay, so I have taken it all off. I'm just loosening it off by hand now. When I reinstall the new O-rings, you're going to do O-ring for everything that's new, and you want to dip them all in a little bit of oil so they have good seal. And the new O-ring for the drain cap on the filter itself, the little center thing, you want to torque down to 7.5 feet-pound, and the whole cap itself you want to torque down to 19 foot-pounds. And something that I always do is I always put a little bit of oil in the filter itself before I do reinstall it. This is preference based, but since it's going underneath and I'm not having to rotate the filter upside down to put in the car, I always do this. So when you reinstall the oil drain plug, it's up to you. I always use a new one. They're not very expensive. And I use a new O-ring and a crush washer, and I'm going to torque this down to 22 foot-pound. It's up to you if you want to reuse it at least one time. But just to be on the safest point, I just buy a new one. They're not that expensive. Okay, now we're going to go top side. So I'm going to lower the car. Everything's torqued down. The trays are not on yet, because I'm going to look after I put oil in and make sure it's not dripping anywhere. So we're going to go top side. In this model, in this region, it says that we're going to put in 6.7 liters. But make sure you don't just put the 6.7 in right away. I'm going to start off by doing 6 liters to prevent it from accidentally being overfilled, because it's a pain in the butt to take it out. If you have suction, you could suck it out, but if you don't, then you have to go underneath and try and take some out, and it's just a lot of work. So just put in some, or account for how much you took out. Since we're not doing that, I'm just going to put in the 6 liters. Okay, so now I've already topped it up. I've checked underneath, it's not dripping. I'm going to start it. Once I start it, this is the way you check the oil, since this does has electronic dipstick. So when I first started, it says there's no information, but I waited a few minutes and now it's saying oil level is correct. And you can see you just want it somewhere in the middle. You don't want it to be near the overfill line, you want it near the bottom line. I have rechecked underneath and it's not leaking, so I'm going to reinstall all the underbody panels. So if this video has helped you guys, please like and subscribe. And once again, this was made because someone asked me. They had this particular engine in their Cayenne and they wanted to see what it was like to do an oil change. So if you need help, let me know and I really will try and make you a video. And thank you guys for watching. And also always look at your owner's handbooks, because the Cayenne does have quite a few different motors for the V6 depending on your region.